and welcome to the Florida Caniac Perspective. I am the Florida Caniac, and thank God hockey is about to come back. Due to the announcement that was made back on the 26th of May by Gary Bettman, the NHL is going to be coming back with a 24-team playoff format with a round robin of some sort for the top 4 seeds in each conference, and then more of a best-of-5 game series with seeds 5 through 12 at this point. But let's dive into these just a little bit more. So the 24 NHL teams are going to pretty much do an interesting take on the playoffs this year, where you, again, like I said, the top 4 seeds in each conference are going to be doing a round robin series type to determine seeds 1 through 4, followed by the 5 through 12 seeds, each competing respectively against each other for a best of 5 series to see who moves into the qualifying rounds of the playoffs. And here is the list of the top 4 teams in the Western Conference competing against each other in that round robin series. And here are seeds 5 through 12 that are going to be competing each other in the Western Conference as well to move on to the next round and into that 1 versus 8 playoff format. Over to the more interesting Eastern Conference for everybody that watches these things. Here are the top 4 teams that are competing for the 1 through 4 spots in their respective round robins. No surprise who those 4 teams are. Things are a little bit more interesting here in the 5 through 12, where it is a Metropolitan Division nightmare for a lot of these teams. The one that everybody in this channel is focused on, the Carolina Hurricanes as a 6 seed versus the New York Rangers as an 11 seed. And let's take a look into what I think the surprises may be throughout. Now I get it, this is way too early predictions going on here, but hey, with nothing really else going on and it's kind of a sit and wait game, let's take a look and see what we could be looking at here. So starting off with the Western Conference here, we have an 8 seed Calgary Flames team against a 9 seed Winnipeg Jets team. Looking at that in a best of 5 series, I think Calgary will take over with this one here. Winnipeg just lost a lot of defensive players and a lot of talent throughout that whole thing, and Calgary is just a well-built machine at this point. I'd clearly give it to Calgary to go on to that round, into the actual playoff format there. 5 Edmonton versus 12 Chicago. I'm giving it to Edmonton just based on speed alone, but you cannot count out Chicago with the experience that team has got, and plus they have been kind of a little bit on the rise before this whole thing ended, and the Patrick Kane, Jonathan Chase question comes into effect. Do you put those two together throughout this whole thing, or do you split them apart and make that an equal balanced team all the way throughout? If Chicago does the right things here, they could probably pull off an upset here, but I'm not going to bet against the speedy Connor McDavid and gang. On to the favored matchup I was looking at here, the Vancouver Canucks at 7 versus the Minnesota Wild at 10. I'm going to give it to Vancouver simply because it is a young team with a bunch of good talent that they brought in during the offseason. Minnesota, although there was everything right going on for them, this was a blessing in disguise for this Minnesota Wild team, for they were one of the oldest teams in the NHL as an average age, that is, including Eric Stahl. I just don't think they have enough gas in the tank to do something so quick and in such a little amount of time here, so I'm going to give it to Vancouver in this case. And on to the 6 and 11 seeds of the Nashville Predators and the Arizona Coyotes. This is my upset of this whole thing. I am going to give it to Arizona here based on the fact that that is an up-and-coming team. They got some great talent there. Taylor Hall had enough time here to really kind of get used to things in a way, and I think this was also a nice blessing in disguise for this team, with some guys coming into this lineup here throughout the entire season. Arizona does have the chemistry, and they do have enough firepower in that team to really make a heavy run. Can't blow up past Nashville that easily. I do think Nashville will put up one heck of a fight here, but I think Arizona might just have a little bit of edge going into this one, so I'm going to give it to Arizona to kind of make things happen here. On to the top 4 seeds in that Western Conference division. I'm not going to get into each one of those for entirely through, but I am looking at Colorado coming up as the top seed, in Vegas coming up as the 2 seed, St. Louis as the 3 seed, and Dallas as the 4 seed. Now on to the Eastern Conference 12 teams here, and this is where things get a little interesting from an Eastern Conference fan's point of view, especially as those Caniacs here. That 8 seed Toronto against that 9 seed Columbus. Columbus, a lot of good things are going on there, and they don't really have a huge staggering roster here. They're just a bunch of good guys, well coached, that get the job done. Toronto has got a lot of superstars that are taking up pretty much 2/3 of that entire payroll, and the rest just kind of look like fillers out there. I will say, with all the firepower that Toronto has, I will give them the edge on this one, but very slightly. Columbus had that magical 4-game sweep against the Tampa Bay Lightning last season. I don't expect the same thing happening here, especially with what's happening with these mini training camps and these phases coming up here. And Toronto, I just think their facilities and what's going on behind the scenes here has vastly increased over the years. So I'm going to give it to Toronto here, but not very easily. 5 Pittsburgh against 12 Montreal. Could this one be an upset? You would think so, but I don't think so, simply because there's too much experience on the Pittsburgh side of things. I think Montreal is just kind of a not so good team right now, so I will give Pittsburgh the easy in on this one and say goodbye to the Montreal Canadiens. Another intriguing matchup here, the Islanders at the 7th seed against the Panthers at the 10th seed. This is an up-and-coming Panthers team versus an Islanders team that is very well coached and really gave quite an ovation during last season until Carolina came in and did their business, if you know what I mean. The Islanders are very well done, and so are the Panthers with Coach Joel Quenneville, and a lot of firepower on both sides. This could be quite the most interesting matchup of the entire playoff series, if you want to call it here, that's not Canes related. Looking at everything here, looking at tail of the tapes here, I'm going to give a very, very slight edge to the New York Islanders. They've been here before. They've done this playoff format recently. Florida has a lot of speed. I just think it may come down to an overtime game-winning goal in Game 5 or something like that. It's just that close, and it's almost too close to call. But if I have to pick one, I'm going to go with the Islanders, as much as many fans hate to hear that one that are also Caniacs out there. And then on to the teams that everybody's most focused on with this channel. The Carolina Hurricanes as a 6th seed and the 11th seed of the New York Rangers. Now, obviously, I'm going to pick Carolina here. How many games? I'm going to give it about 4 or 5 to be upfront with you. I do see the New York Rangers being that team that Carolina cannot play against that well. And I've witnessed it firsthand at Madison Square Garden. They have a very difficult time getting past Henrik Lundqvist. And that's the main key thing. If goaltending holds up on both sides, this could be about between that two situation. And that could give a slight edge to the New York Rangers. However, if it's not in that favor and the Carolina Hurricanes play the type of game that they've been playing throughout this entire season before things kind of went south here, I will give a huge edge to the Carolina Hurricanes. Although the Rangers have the firepower and they have the stamina to keep up with this team, I will give it to Carolina because I just think they just have a little bit more heart and they have what it takes to beat this Rangers team. I know that's not a whole lot of saying on that one, but just looking at just pure heart, pure strength and will, and the leadership that's in that locker room, I have to give it to Carolina on this one because there's no way they're going to lose on this one. And based on an interview that Justin Williams did on XM Radio, they're expected to win. And then looking at the top 4 seed battle here between the Boston Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning, Washington Capitals, and the Philadelphia Flyers, surprisingly. Gotta give kudos to the Flyers for really turning things around with head coaching and team acquisitions there. But looking at who could be the 1 seed, you would expect the Tampa Bay Lightning to take that 1 seed over and end it. But no, I'm not going to do that. I will probably give the slight edge to the Washington Capitals as the 1 seed as my prediction on this one, followed by the Boston Bruins as the 2 seed, the Tampa Bay Lightning as the 3 seed, and the Philadelphia Flyers as the 4 seed. And now with Phase 2 officially in effect for the NHL, moving on to continuing this season and into this so-called playoff format, one wonders, what are the players really going to be going through this whole time? Well, I guarantee you that strength and conditioning coach Bill Burston is on top of this already making a schedule out for these players on proper conditioning techniques and what to do on and off the ice, as well as far as your health and safety. I would also venture to believe that it's going to be a little bit of a slow process for everybody just to kind of gradually get them way through. It's going to be definitely like a mini camp format. However, with all the stipulations that are in effect due to the COVID situation, this will be a little bit different approach with only up to 6 players allowed on the ice. Chemistry is going to be a big factor here throughout until they open into that phase 3 and then finally into phase 4 where the season actually officially restarts itself. So I would expect this to be a little bit of slow turnout. There's going to be a little bit more getting used to, absolutely through. And of course, they still don't know where they're going to play based on the facts that we know right now during this video. Once that all comes into effect, then some major planning can finally go into effect. But right now, the focus is staying healthy and getting in proper hockey game condition to move on to the next round. And now our hashtag Ask Florida Caniac question of the episode. This one is brought to you by Zach Hines from Twitter here. Zach, congratulations for letting me pick your question out here. Just please reach out to me regarding the information to mail you that free t-shirt. He asks simply, what is my opinion on SPHL hockey? And of course, a shout out to the Marksman hockey team over in North Carolina. Well, this league reminds me a lot of my old playing days back when I played for Orlando Seals back in 2004. Small league, about 10 teams in this league, I believe, and there's about 4 teams in the league I played in at one time, and it only lasted 1 season. This one's going on to its 10th season, which is really awesome to see there. I'm a little bit fond of the Pensacola Flyers, to be upfront with you, simply because it is a Florida-based team, and it's really the first time I really have seen this league overall. I do like the toughness of it. I do like some of the old school feel that this does have. However, there is a lot of speed on here that I didn't witness when I was playing. That is really showing that the game is changing all the way throughout. The only thing I would say that's criticizing here is it's not a lot of smart hockey. And what I mean by that is the passes aren't there quite yet because it's not quite that professional level. The skating ability is not there, even though there's a lot of speed out there. And just the overall moves that some of these young guys have, just not quite developed. So if you do like a younger style brand of hockey with a little bit of an old school feel here and there, this is the league for you for sure. So I truly endorse SPHL hockey, and I enjoy seeing what is coming up here, hopefully when the season does return for them. I'd like to thank Stormy as well for that lovely introduction for this episode of the Florida Caniac Perspective, and thank you guys for watching this episode. All your support is greatly appreciated. Please like and subscribe my channel for more up-to-date info on it, and definitely check out my social media outages to get more up-to-date information on here. We look forward to more news and updates as we hope for the NHL season to continue on to its forward progress for moving on for this rest of the season. Once that actually happens, a new episode will be coming up here. And thank you guys again for watching this episode. And as always, go Canes!